This is the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey, and welcome to the first ever live Harvey Hour that we are doing on this channel. It is Friday, June 10th at 5 p.m. Eastern. This is the first ever show. This is the inaugural live stream of the Harvey Hour. Now, this should be an hour long. This should go from 5 to 6 p.m., and as the show progresses and as I start to get the hang of more things and I'm able to do much more with the live show, we'll be able to have many more sort of topics and sort of games and stuff like that. We still could do the cadence game sometime in the future. I still have probably 2 or 3 more parts of the cadence game. That was actually the opening of season 2. You guys might remember that that's what we did. We did a cadence game with me, my brother, and my aunt. Yeah, my dad wasn't there. He was feeling under the weather for that show. But yeah, we have 2 more cadence games going. So the basic setup of the show that I want it to be is about 4 13-minute segments and then 2-minute breaks in between each segment. So we're going to start off. It's 5:01. We're going to start off with our first topic today. This is a pretty I guess controversial would definitely be one, but also pretty disturbing as well. Deshaun Watson, if you remember the situation with him not too long ago, it was figured out that he had 22 civil lawsuits going against him for different masseuses, and they were claiming that there was some inappropriate activity happening between them and Deshaun Watson, more than a massage, for instance. That number actually, over the past week, actually went up to 24, and then the New York Times reported that there was a chance Deshaun Watson had at least 66 new masseuses within a 17-month span. That's more than one masseuse per week. Now, something else that was pretty shocking about this case is that Deshaun Watson's lawyer said that a certain sexual act, as long as you don't pay extra for it, it's not technically illegal. That is not a great sign for Deshaun Watson. Now, the Browns actually had a smart thing when they gave Deshaun Watson his contract. The first year, I believe, was like $1 million base contract, and then the rest would be guaranteed. That's pretty smart. Now, who knows if the Browns actually knew whether or not Deshaun Watson would be suspended for the 2022 season, but that's looking much more likely as time progresses. Now, Deshaun Watson needs to deal with each of these cases individually, and now with him potentially, 66, that's 22 more or 42 more women that could be involved in this civil lawsuit. I mean, it was at 22. Then over the past week, 2 more women came out and said that Deshaun Watson sexually assaulted or sexually abused or sexually harassed them as well. And then the New York Times reported that Deshaun Watson had about 66, at least 66. So there could be many more women involved in this case within a 17-month span. They also, the Texans will also be brought into this case as defendants as well. I guess the lawyer of the women who are filing against Deshaun Watson, the lawyer believes that the Texans could have known. I'm not sure how well you could prove that. Maybe they have, where there's smoke, there's fire. Maybe they have a smoking gun where, maybe they have some evidence where the Texans did know about Deshaun Watson's dealings in hotel rooms. But the Texans set up all these hotel rooms that Deshaun Watson could be massaged with all these women. But my guess is they didn't know exactly what was going on between the women and Deshaun Watson. But as time progresses, this is looking a lot more scary for Deshaun Watson. And my guess would be, I can't remember how long ago we talked about it when the news first broke, and we did a Harvey Hour on it, me and my dad. But I basically said, I believe, if my memory serves me, I basically said I don't think Deshaun Watson will be suspended for the entire season. But now with all these reports coming out, it seems more likely that Deshaun Watson will be suspended for the entire season, just because the tremendous new numbers, 42 more women are potentially going to be involved in this, and Deshaun Watson has to deal with them individually. So, first of all, this is what the commissioner's exempt list was actually made to do, is to put players on this list who have these kind of, situations with them. Roger Goodell needs to and the NFL, before I get on with that point, the NFL really cares about its reputation, and Roger Goodell wants to maintain the integrity of that reputation. I mean, look at Deflategate and Brady. Look at Spygate and Bill Belichick. Deflategate, first of all, came out recently. It was completely debunked that the guy who actually tweeted out, he was wrong, completely wrong. So Deflategate is a complete myth. But that idea that there was cheaters in the NFL, and you have all these PEDs and domestic assaults and all these bad things coming out of the NFL, You know what? The NFL does not have a great reputation, but not many sports actually do. You have baseball with steroids and with cheating and with, pine tar or some stickiness on the ball. Recently, actually, they had like the spider tack where pitchers were throwing 3,000 plus RPMs, and they cracked down on that, and it seems to be better this season. But the NFL particularly has a not great reputation with its individuals. Richard Sherman recently, I believe I don't know if it was the past year or the year before that, but he had a potential domestic assault or something like that, where he could have gotten into a lot of trouble. But Roger Goodell wants to hold up, if he wants to hold up the integrity of the NFL, I would put him on the exempt list and not have him play for this year. Now, he didn't play for last year. He didn't play. So I guess you could argue that that was his suspension. But now that more information is coming out about, what exactly is going on between Deshaun Watson, the Browns, the Texans, and these now 66 women, you could suspend him again for an entire year. That's what I would do if I was maintaining the integrity of my league. I would suspend Deshaun Watson because this is pitiful. Like this is disgusting. I mean, and also each of the stories that the women are telling are relatively the same. So it's not like anyone's making this stuff up or the stories are just so drastic from one another that it really doesn't make any sense. No, the stories that these women are telling are pretty much the same over and over and over and over again. Does Deshaun Watson have a problem? He very well may have a problem. But do I think that, is he going to get suspended? I think he should. Will he? I believe so. I think Deshaun Watson will get suspended for this entire season. I think the Browns actually set up his contract to be that way. Now you ask, what about the deal with Baker Mayfield? Baker Mayfield was excused from, OTAs and training camps because, A, the Browns are trying to look for a suitor for a new team, and they can't really get anyone because they don't want to pay his $19 million that he's due for his fifth-year option. I would say Browns take it. I mean, Baker Mayfield will not be your quarterback if Deshaun Watson gets suspended. I mean, if I'm Baker Mayfield, I want it out as soon as you said you were looking at Deshaun Watson. And that's what he did. He came out with that statement. He said he didn't know where his future would be. Everyone kind of knew he meant bye, I'm out of here. They don't want me. I don't want to be somewhere where I don't want to be somewhere where I'm not wanted. So I'm going to leave. And now the Browns are kind of stuck with Deshaun Watson potentially getting suspended for an entire year. Joshua Dobbs, is that one of the backups the Browns have? He might be starting. They might bring in someone new. Who knows? But Baker Mayfield will not be the starter for the Browns next year. Who knows if he's even on a team next year? If I'm the Browns, I pay the $19 million to get rid of him because you know what? He's literally just an extra roster spot on my team. I can fill that in with a better position. Yes, you'll have $19 million that you just spent on a guy that isn't even going to be on your team. Or maybe, say you want to pay $18 million or something like that, $17.5 million just to get him off your team. I would do that. Send him over to the Seahawks. Send him over to the Panthers. And even, what? I was thinking about it, right? And if you take a look at the numbers, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I saw this recently, and I thought it was a great comparison. If you take a look at the numbers between Drew Brees when he was with the Chargers his first 4 years and Baker Mayfield in his first 4 years with the Browns, they're surprisingly similar. The only difference is when Drew Brees left the Chargers, he went into the Saints with good defenses throughout pretty much his entire career, good offensive lines, and pretty good weapons. Well, Baker Mayfield is thrown to Donovan Peoples-Jones. He would have had Amari Cooper if, that whole situation with Deshaun Watson didn't pan out. He would have had Amari Cooper. They're thinking about bringing back OBJ. Jarvis Landry was an option, but he went over to the Saints. So you pair him up with Jarvis Landry again. You have Michael Thomas, who should be coming back. He still has a couple more things to get through before he's back on the field. You got, I believe, Olave. I believe that's his name, the rookie. He's going to be there. You still have a really, really good defense with, what's his name, Cameron Jordan. Cam Jordan, he'll be there. I think DeMario Davis is still there. So you have these guys in place to do very, very well. So if I were the Browns or the Saints at this point, I understand. You gave Jameis Winston an extension. But if I were to put Jameis Winston and Baker Mayfield up against one another, I would choose Baker Mayfield, truthfully. Because I just think Baker Mayfield's a better player than Jameis Winston. I do not trust Jameis Winston when it comes to turning the football over. I simply don't. He had 30 interceptions in a year with 30 touchdowns. I believe he had 35 total turnovers. Baker Mayfield won't do that. And Baker Mayfield was also hurt. So he was playing hurt. I understand. That's not an excuse. If you're good enough to be out on the field, you're good enough. You're considered healthy. I think it was a pretty dumb decision for Baker Mayfield, at least because I guess he didn't know if he was exactly going to be on the Browns next year. I guess he was expecting to be. But still, though, you don't play hurt because then you're putting out bad tape. And if just by the chance, and this turned out to be the chance, if by chance you're not on the team in the future, you have that bad tape out there. And we're seeing actually that pan out right now. So, Baker Mayfield to the Saints. I would say that is probably one of the best options for probably both parties. Now, I would say the Browns have the most cap space in the NFL right now. They have about, I think, 40 million, something like that. I think it was 20 or 40 million, anywhere between those two numbers. I would say take the 19 million and live with it. You send him off, you don't have to worry about him. You really don't have to. It's a stain you remove off your shirt if you're the Browns. You don't got to worry about him anymore. So ship him off. Say adios, Baker Mayfield. Leave him for the Saints, and you, as the Browns, you deal with Deshaun Watson. If he gets suspended, well, you have a backup that you could actually, use, because you're not going to use Baker Mayfield. So, and let's just say Deshaun Watson doesn't even get suspended, right? Let's say just by chance. I don't think so, but by chance, if he doesn't get suspended, you have Deshaun Watson, who threw for 5,200 yards, one of the seasons one of the most recent seasons. I think he went 4-12. And he still threw for 5,200 yards, which is very, very impressive. But we're going to take our first break right here. The Harvey Hour will be back in 2 minutes. And we are back with the Harvey Hour. Welcome back. Little 2-minute break right there. And I want to move on to the NBA Finals. Not looking too good for my Warriors. Definitely not. The Warriors are down 1-2 in the finals against the Boston Celtics. But here's some hope for Warriors fans out there. The Warriors in this playoffs are 5-0 after a loss in these playoffs. And 4 of the 5 of the wins are won by 10 or more points. So when they lose, they come out the next game dominating the game of basketball. Usually. I believe the only one that wasn't a 10-point win was game 4 against, or game 5, I guess, because they won, against the Nuggets in round 1. I think they won by, 4 or 6 points. But yeah, they're 5-0 after a loss. And the Celtics also do very, very, very well after a loss. But you know what? They didn't lose. They won. I mean, they lost game 2, came back and won by, I don't even know how many, 16? I think it was 116, 100. So they also dominated after a loss. So I feel like this will be back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. The only thing is, though, if it is back and forth, the Celtics would win in 7 because they won game 1, Warriors win game 2, Celtics win game 3, and so on and so forth. But in game 4, which is tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, the Warriors 5-0 after a loss. 4 out of the 5 of the wins, won by 10 or more. In Game 3, we finally saw a glimpse of the old Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson put up 25 points. He averages about 19 in the NBA Finals, but in these playoffs, he's averaging probably about 16, 17 points. Not what you want to see from, the Splash Brothers. Curry went for 31. Curry, if the Warriors win, Curry will hands down be the NBA Finals MVP. He is playing at an insurmountable level. But the crazy part about it is Curry's always played better in the finals than he has in the playoffs, in the rest of the playoffs. He has more points. He has more rebounds, about the same assists. The only problem is he's shooting at a lower percentage because the Warriors are asking him to do more in the finals. So his shooting efficiency is significantly lowered. But he's living up to the task right now. Right now, he's living up to what people like a Skip Bayless say, where he's like, he doesn't have a Finals MVP. KD had those 2 Finals MVPs. Andre Iguodala won a Finals MVP. Curry, if you look at the numbers, right? Let's say KD was just a bit off. Curry still averaged over 27 points in each of those finals with KD. He put up phenomenal. I believe he averaged 27, 9, and 8, or 8 and 9 in the NBA Finals. I believe it was 17 they won, 2017 and 18 they won. One of those finals, Curry put up 27, 8, and 9, I believe. Like, that would win you Finals MVP. The first finals they won. The only reason why Andre Iguodala won MVP was because he basically, well, I shouldn't say shut down, but he disrupted LeBron James enough for the Warriors to come back from being 2-1 and basically facing elimination, essentially. Being at LeBron's whim, Andre Iguodala came in as a starter and really disrupted LeBron's game. And that's why he won Finals MVP. Curry still put up great numbers, MVP caliber numbers. So for him to win Finals MVP, to me, it would mean, oh, that's great. It was just another accolade. Just like if Tom Brady wins another Super Bowl, right? If Michael Jordan won 7 rings, something like that. Yeah, it's an accolade. You're already, here. A Finals MVP might put you, here, but it won't make this huge leap to, top 5 or whatever. In my opinion, Curry's a top 10 player all time. I know. A lot of people there's no way. There's absolutely no way. Where's his Finals MVP? Where's all the wins? Well, to be in my top 10, you have to be an MVP more than once. It's as simple as that. Because if you're not an MVP more than once, that means you weren't the best player in the league more than once. You could have an off year. You're not an MVP that year. Are you still phenomenal maybe your entire career? Yeah. But you have to be the best in the game consecutively. Or I shouldn't say consecutively, but more than once in your career. So Curry's already in my top 10. I think if he wins the Finals MVP, he'll be solidified in the top 10. I guess you can move it around with certain kinds of players. If you pick apart their game, you might be able to say, well, Curry can't do this. This player can do this significantly better. Curry doesn't shoot as efficiently as KD. He's not as tall as KD, so he can't get all the rebounds and everything like that. And you might be able to pick apart that, but just the way Curry changed the game of basketball, that has to mean for something. You had guys, I watched highlights of the Lakers-Celtics finals where the Celtics won, it was 2010, so the Lakers won back-to-back. They had 50 points in 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. In most of these finals, now guys have 90 points at that point. And that's because they're shooting a significant amount of three-pointers. And that's because of Curry. Curry really evolved the game of basketball. Now you have people in 5th graders shooting up threes, 6th graders shooting up threes. You have people, when they're learning the game of basketball, they're learning how to shoot the 3 more. People didn't do that When I was growing up, I played basketball for a long period of my life. It was my favorite sport growing up. It's the only sport I really played besides baseball. But baseball, I just didn't love the coaches I played with. Nothing against them, just they cared more about winning and then involving us as players, which, I was like, yeah, I get it. But you know what? I like the evolution of my game. That's why I like basketball so much, is because I could evolve my game personally. I was with a team. I could build up a team. I was always the point guard because I'm 5'5", which makes it hard for me to be a center. But what I loved about the game of basketball is that when I was growing up and I was learning how to play basketball, it was a lot about dribbling. It was a lot about finding the open man, driving, dishing, and all that. It was never really about shooting. Maybe free throws. It was maybe a little bit of a mid-range game. But I remember practicing drills where I get under the basket and start taking layups on each side. That's what I did growing up. Now you got kids out here shooting 30-foot threes as their practice. It's because of Curry. Curry evolved the game. That has to mean for something. A problem I have in Game 3, was Draymond Green. Now I understand. Draymond Green is kind of like Rasheed Wallace. Nobody really likes him at all. But if you take away his antics, right? His complaining, his whining, his crying, all of that. He is the glue that holds the Warriors together. Without Draymond Green, this Warriors team wouldn't be as good as it is. Because Draymond Green understands. Draymond Green can push the ball at the field. He could, court, not field, really. He's really good in transition. He can find Curry. He can set nice screens. He could basically get down low and disrupt interior defenders. All of that. Draymond Green needs to get the TD Garden fans out of his head. Or, because there is an or, do what Kyrie did in Game 1 against the Celtics. I understand Nets got swept, but Kyrie put up 39 points on 12 of 20 shooting. Right? He took what not the Boston Garden anymore, but he took what TD Gardens gave him, which was, absurd amounts of hate, because the Celtics fans, I feel like, really hate Kyrie for bailing on the team, which, he did. He did not perform as well as he did out of Cleveland. He came to the Celtics and was like, this is the guy we paid for? This is the guy who said he would never leave us and then left? So TD Garden was not very happy with Kyrie, but Kyrie took that. I flipped him off a few times, which wasn't great for Kyrie. And he took that energy that TD Garden gave him and the Boston Celtics fans gave him and turned it into a great performance. Draymond needs to do the same. Now, I'm not talking about points-wise, because Draymond Green never really scores that many points. I'm talking about assists, rebounds, and basically disrupting Jason Tatum or whoever he's guarding. Interior defenders get down low. Interior players, I should say, not defenders. Get down low, disrupt the interior guys. Make them take hard, tough, bad shots. And also, keep your mouth shut for crying out loud. The NBA, and I know what, I don't have a problem with it, but I kind of do. Because if Draymond Green gets a T, there's a very, very low chance he'll get a second one. There was I believe it was Game 2, where Draymond Green kicked Grant Williams, right? He's on the ground fighting for a loose ball, or maybe it was Jaylen Brown. He already got teed up. There could have very well been double technicals, and Draymond Green would have been out of that game. But they let them play. Draymond Green was already suspended for a game in the 2016 finals. I believe it was Game 5 or 6. I believe it was 5 for kicking LeBron in the midsection. He, in the entire playoff series, I believe he kicked Steven Adams like 2 or 3 times in the midsection. So he's a dirty player. He is. But Draymond Green is a crucial part of the Warriors. He's the glue that holds them together. He sets the ball up, sets high screens for Curry and Clay, gives them open shots. He's a pretty good passer. He's a pretty good rebounder. He doesn't score very well. He doesn't score. He shoots the ball occasionally. I believe in Game 1, he made 1 or 2 shots, and he attempted like 10 or 12. That's not Draymond Green's game. Draymond Green is a low-volume shooter. He went 2 or 3, and they won by like 12 or 16 or something like that in Game 2. He is a interior guy. He sometimes comes up to set the high pick and roll. He screens off, rolls out, gets a pass, finds the open guy, sets him up for a good shot. That's what Draymond Green's game is. Draymond Green's not a high intent or high amount shooter, high shotter, high volume. That's the word I'm looking for. High volume shooter. He's not. So Draymond Green needs to get the noise out of his head because for some reason the haters, and he has a podcast too, so he understands, people are going to be hating on him from multiple different levels. And he even said he played terribly, and he did. But he said it wasn't a box score that really defines how bad you play. And I agree with that at some extent because, you know what, disrupting people is not, or forcing bad shots is not a stat on a box score. But when you put up 2, 3, 4 as your stat, or 2, 4, 3, 2 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, you know what? That kind of seems bad. And you lose by 16, that could also show that you had a bad game. Plus, you fouled out, so you knew the fans were already going to hate on you. Because you played dirty, you played bad. TD Garden is a ruthless place. They're loud. TD Garden fans are very, very loud. Probably one of the loudest stadiums in the NBA. Or arenas, I guess. Stadium, arena. Yeah, but they are tremendously loud. So, Draymond Green, get the noise out of your head. Or if it's going to penetrate into your skull and you're going to think about it, form it into an explosive performance. Don't complain to the refs all the damn time. Because guess what? You're going to turn into one of those crybabies in the NBA. What does Luka Doncic get always criticized for? Every time he gets hit, he starts whining and flapping his lips. I got fouled. No one likes that type of guy. So keep your mouth shut. Play the damn game of basketball. For the love of God, please. If you're going to get, like I said, if the noise is going to get into your head, turn it into something positive. Turn it into a dominant performance to silence the crowd. Don't make some sort of stupid play and overthink it. And then you know what? You're not going to play well. We're going to take another break, another 2-minute break. We'll be back very, very soon. And we are back once again. Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey. Thank you for all who are tuning in at this moment. We just recapped Deshaun Watson and his now alleged 66 women that, his massages, his masseuses over a 17-month span. And we just talked about the Warriors Game 3. And you know what? We're on to the next topic here. The Patriots. What are the Patriots doing this offseason? The Patriots have always had strange off seasons with Bill Belichick. You know what? They haven't really signed any big names. I think the biggest name they really signed was like probably Randy Moss back in 2007, 2006. It's probably one of the biggest names they signed in the offseason. They let J.C. Jackson go, which was a shocker. 17 interceptions in 2 years. You never see that really again. Let him go. Now, we're a little bit later after that, you have Cole Strange being drafted first by the Patriots. At the 26th pick? That was a strange pick for real. And then you have Bill Belichick going in a press conference saying, well, you don't really believe in titles after not naming an OC or a DC. Now a report came out that's saying Matt Patricia is looking as the leader to be the offensive coordinator for the Patriots in 2022. This is a little bit of a shock because Belichick said he doesn't like to give roles out. Who knows who the defensive coordinator is? I thought it was Steve Belichick. Could be Gerard Mayo. Could be even Bill Belichick. Who knows? My guess it would probably be his son. His son was part of that defensive staff. He was calling a lot of defensive plays last year. You'd see the memes of him, sticking his tongue out and doing some weird faces on the sidelines, which is pretty amusing to watch. But Matt Patricia failed as a head coach for the Lions. Failed. Which is kind of funny, though, because Matt Patricia beat Bill Belichick, I believe it was 2019, as the Lions head coach against the Patriots. So, failure as a Lions head coach, right? You start off, I believe, on the offensive side. Belichick flipped him to the defensive side, made him defensive coordinator. He was pretty good as a defensive coordinator. Gets hired as a head coach, fails, gets brought back to the Patriots as an assistant, and now is looking as the leader to be the offensive play caller for the Patriots. This blows my mind. It genuinely blows my mind what the Patriots are doing. Now, the question is, are the Patriots doomed? Or is this just another attempt for a great Patriots season story and a great story for Bill Belichick saying, well, our staff was, discombobulated. We didn't have anyone with a title. We didn't know who was responsible. And look what we did. We went this far, or we did this. I think, truthfully, it pains me to say this, but I think the Patriots are doomed. Because it's going to affect Mac Jones. I honestly think Mac Jones will do very well. There are reports coming out saying that Mac Jones is doing very, very, very well. And I'm glad of that. Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar, Jacoby Myers, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith. All of them, I expect to get closer. And even Devontae Parker, he's on the Patriots now. That's not a bad squad. It's just the AFC is insanely good now. So for the Patriots not to really have anyone holding accountability and having the responsibility of an OC, because that was their plan. There was no OC or DC set up in place for the Patriots through most of this offseason so far. But now it looks like Matt Patricia may be calling plays. Originally, it was Joe Judge. He was rumored. I think you should have asked Bill O'Brien. Come back to the Patriots. Establish that two tight end system you had when Tom Brady, Gronk, and Aaron Hernandez were all on the team. That worked out really well. Now I understand. I fully understand. Mac Jones is not Brady. Hunter Henry is not Gronk. And Jonnu Smith is not Aaron Hernandez. But it's that two tight end system, which I hope, no matter who the offensive coordinator is, no matter who's calling plays for the Patriots, I hope whoever is calling plays could establish a effective two tight end system. Because I think you take a look at Jonnu Smith, his last year with the Titans and his first year with the Patriots. You could probably find a 20-second clip of his season highlights with the Patriots, Jonnu Smith. We could probably find an 8-minute clip of him on the Titans. You need to play him, you need to implement him and have a specific role for Jonnu Smith. Don't have him come in as a sub for Hunter Henry when he gets gassed. No, set up a 2 tight end system and run with it, because I think that's much, much better. So the Patriots need to... I think the Patriots are doomed. I really do. If I take a look at it, and I keep going in depth with the Patriots' schedule, and, the rumors coming out of the Patriots camp, and just what I expect the Patriots to do, it'll be very, very close to a losing season for the Patriots and for Bill Belichick. And then the question will come into fruition. Is Bill Belichick done? Is he washed? Is he not a winning coach anymore? I think that's a fair question. I really do. Because you take a look at Bill Belichick, with the Browns, right? I think he had 5 seasons. He had 1 winning season with the Browns. 1. And there's a book that was written about him. It says they made all these mistakes and everything when he was on the Browns. Well, when he was on the Browns, he was defensive coordinator with the Giants, and they won, I believe, 2 Super Bowls. He coached Lawrence Taylor, best defensive player of all time. Some argue he's the greatest player of all time. That's Tom Brady for me, just because, the quarterback, I think, has, more of a responsibility, has a bigger role than an outside linebacker. But I think it's a fair question, and I think it should be asked, depending on how this Patriots season ends up. Should Bill Belichick be forced to retire? Or should the Patriots let go of Bill Belichick? I think Robert Kraft is fed up. I do, because he was always closer to Brady than he was Belichick. I think it's a very, very fair question. Is Bill Belichick washed? Is he not a winning coach anymore? Because look at what happened with Cam Newton. Cam Newton admits he screwed up that opportunity. And he might talk himself actually out of the NFL. Who knows what will happen with that situation. But Belichick, I really think, depending on how this Patriots season goes, I think there is a decent chance he'll be forced to retire, or the Patriots will have some serious thinking about whether or not to move on from him. I understand. Greatest coach of all time. He coached the 2 greatest players of all time, Lawrence Taylor, Tom Brady, what have you. But without Tom Brady, Bill Belichick is looking pretty bad. I mean, the last 2 games, Patriots against the Bills did not punt a single time. Not a single time could they get him to 4th down and they punt the ball. And he's a defensive head coach. That's what pains me with Pete Carroll and the Seahawks. They went from nothing to Legion of Boom to nothing again. No backup plan. Nothing to build around. The Seahawks and the Patriots each have poor drafts. I thought Pete Carroll should have stepped down into this coming year. I think he would retire. I thought he would retire. But I think the Patriots are looking at probably an 8-9 season. 9-8 season, somewhere around there. 10-7 would be pushing it a little bit. If I had to set up the AFC East, I'm sticking with this. I really, really believe this. Bills number 1, Patriots 2, Jets 3, Dolphins 4. I do not think the Tua to Tyreek Hill combo will work that well. I honestly just don't. Hit my pop filter. My bad. Sorry for anyone listening. I just don't think that combination will work very, very well. I don't. I think Tua is pretty inaccurate. I don't think he can push the ball down the field that well. I just think Tua is not the Dolphins guy at all. Bills number 1, I think they'll probably win 13 games. 12, 13 games. Then Patriots, because I think the Patriots will do something. I think Mac Jones will have the defense. The defense is so questionable. They haven't brought back Dante Hightower. They lost Kyle Van Noy. Who knows what they're going to do on the defensive end? I'm hoping Bill Belichick could do something well on the defense and, get the defense back where it should be, because it looked absolutely gassed by the end of the year. And I think that's kind of what contributed to the fact that the Bills didn't punt the last 2 games they played the Patriots. They could have gotten swept by the Bills, but thank God for Damian Harris, 62-yard rushing touchdown, and in Gale Force ×2 wins that the Patriots were able to win, because they actually had a running game compared to the Bills, who had no running game. But, when it's not 80-mile-an-hour winds and typhoon and all of that. Bills did not punt a single time. They won 47-17 in the playoff game. That's despicable for a Bill Belichick team. So was giving up, 40-something points to Nick Foles in a Super Bowl with Tom Brady throwing 505. And you bench Malcolm Butler over a little bit of an argument, supposedly. And then you bring him back. That blew my mind, too. How can Malcolm Butler, who got benched during a Super Bowl, who got told minutes before the national anthem that he was never going to be playing in the Super Bowl, you bring him back as a quasi-replacement to J.C. Jackson? Keep knocking into things if you guys are hearing that. Apologies. The Patriots, who knows what is going to happen with them? I will be very, very shocked to see what they actually do, because I think that, truthfully, 9-8, 8-9 is where they'll probably end up. But I think it'll be just good enough to not. I don't think they'll make the playoffs. I hope they do. Believe me, I hope they do. And you know what? Depending on how the offseason keeps going, it might, come out as maybe they're better. Maybe they could sneak in at the 7th spot, but the AFC is so stacked that really almost any team could be a playoff team. But I don't think they're a playoff team. I think they'll end up second in the AFC East. I think the Jets and then the Dolphins will be 3rd and 4th, respectively. But I really do not like the direction the Patriots are going. It's ugly, and I really, really think that this may be Bill Belichick's last year. I really do, because it just seems like he can't win without Brady. It really seems like that. The greatest coach of all time, who coached Lawrence Taylor, the greatest defensive player of all time, maybe Aaron Donald, and coach Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback, hands down, and potentially the greatest player in NFL history. Coach the two greatest players on opposite sides, defense and offense. He can't win, or he's having trouble winning. I think it has a lot to do with, maintaining the culture. He hasn't evolved his coaching game, right? Look at a Sean McVay, right? He's having such great success because he evolved the game for the Rams. Made the Rams offense and defense more modernized. The game is all about the game has always been, actually I shouldn't say always, but the game in modern history, modern times, has always been more offensive than defensive, right? Early 2000s and then the 90s and 80s, minus, the obvious, Kurt Warner to Isaac Bruce and Joe Montana and Jerry Rice. You'll take a look at the comparisons between all-time great defensive players and all-time great offensive players. I mean, yes, you had a lot of good running backs, Barry Sanders, Walter Payton, Jim Brown. I can go on and on and on. But you had guys like Lawrence Taylor was in there. You had Mean Joe Green. He was out there. I'm forgetting. Was it Night Train Lane? He was out there. So Belichick needs to understand that the game has evolved a lot since you started coaching. Mac Jones, I really hope, because this is probably one of the most crucial years for Mac Jones to make it from, rookie to first-year veteran. That jump is very, very crucial to see how far his potential will go, how far his skill level could go. And I think it's going to be tough because Josh McDaniels ain't there anymore. I'm not going to say he has to learn a new system, but it may be a new playbook. It may be new plays. It may be the same plays just called differently. And right now, there's not an official OC. So for all we know, Matt Patricia could be here until August, and then Joe Judge might come in and potentially screw a lot of the things up. Patriots are a mess. We're going to take another break. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stay tuned. Warriors, Game 4, prediction, and what I think could happen coming up in the rest of the series right after this. And we are back with our final topic. Final topic of the first live show of the Harvey Hour. Hope you guys all enjoyed the show thus far. For those who are tuning in, hi, my name is Nathan Harvey, as you can see. I don't know why I did that. My name is Nathan Harvey. I am your host. We just talked about Matt Patricia and the Patriots. What the hell are they doing? Who knows? We also talked about the Warriors' Game 3 performance. And really, what the problems of Game 3 were for Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and, what I think about, Game 3. And we also talked about Deshaun Watson. 22 lawsuits turned 24 and could potentially get him all the way to 66 with the amount of people that are supposedly interacted with Deshaun Watson. But Game 4 is tonight, like I said earlier. Game 4, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Warriors at Celtics for Game 4. The Celtics are 4-point favorites in this game, and they have every right to be. They've been dominated the Warriors for each of their 2 wins. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Marcus Smart all putting up over 20 points in Game 3. Pretty unexpected, especially from, not so much from Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, but more so from Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart's usually a high-volume shooter, and he makes about, I'd say, just below half usually, maybe sometimes even way below half, especially on three-pointers. Not that efficient of a shooter. I probably average about 15 on a bad day. On a good day, yeah, he gets over 20 easily. But I do not think Marcus Smart will shoot the same way he did Wednesday night. I don't think Al Horford will have the same impact as he did in Game 3. And we saw that from Game 1 to Game 2. Game 1, he put like 26 points and led the Celtics to that crazy win. It was one of the weirdest performances and one of the greatest chokes in a game in NBA Finals history. That fourth quarter was bad for Warriors. That was tremendous for Celtics. Absolutely, I'll give that up. The Celtics played out of their minds in the fourth quarter. Bad for the Warriors, obviously. But I do not expect Al Horford to have the same impact because that seems to be a trend. Phenomenal impact, bad game. Or actually, a bad game, but not as impactful. Really impactful? Tonight, I'm predicting not as impactful. And I expect Draymond Green to play much better. Not with the points, but I expect him to have a new mindset, or at least if TD Garden is going to get as loud as and ferocious as it did in Game 3, which, you know what? I love that. I love when crowds get loud because it shows passion. The NBA, its viewership is not great. Same thing with baseball is even worse, but that's a whole different situation with baseball. But you know what? Football is obviously king in the United States. Soccer is unbelievable worldwide. But football's king, and then it's probably basketball, then baseball, then hockey is. I feel like hockey may surpass baseball at this point. I'll have to look up the numbers later on. And you know what? Figure that out. But I expect Draymond Green to have a new mindset. I think he's going to go in as be as clumsy as he was in Game 3. I think he'll be much more impactful, not in the box score, but more so in the other team's box score, not allowing them to score a lot against him. I expect his plus-minus to not be as poor as it was because Draymond Green gets into foul trouble a lot. He talks to the refs all the damn time. And you know what? He gets himself in trouble. Gets him teed up. He has, I believe, more podcasts, I think, in the NBA Finals than it was some crazy stat about like the amount of podcasts he's made compared to something. I should have kept it. Should have screenshot it and make sure I remembered it. But what he has been doing, right? Draymond Green. I just want to look up something real quick. Draymond Green, he should come in with a new mindset because how he's been playing in these 2 losses has been pretty pedestrian, and that's not something you want to see from a guy who I said is like the glue to your team, because he is. He needs to, get his act together. It's honestly ridiculous because, let's see here. Where's his personal fouls? Because I think there was some stat about his personal fouls. Because his points, he scored 4 points, 9 points, and 2 points in these finals so far. I want to see his fouls. They just have it here. Yeah, he averages the same amount of fouls as points in this series. That's not good. Like, that's pretty bad. He's shooting 26.3% from the field in these finals. 26% from an interior player. You don't see that unless it's a small playing in the interior. Robert Williams hasn't even been playing. Like that was a very very key reason why the Warriors did as well as they did in Game 3 or Game 2, I should say. They lost Game 3. Was that Robert Williams and the rest of the Celtics could not. And by the way, the Celtics are also undefeated. They are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-0 after a loss, or is it 5-0? But Robert Williams, Al Horford weren't able to get a lot of offensive rebounds in Game 2. That's why the Warriors won. They have to win on the boards. Kevon Looney has really, exploded as a great rebounder. And I think Warriors as a team rebound the ball pretty well. Steph Curry, for a 6'3" guard, he rebounds exceptionally well. Point spread is 4 for Boston, -4 for Boston. I say the Warriors win, so I have to say they cover the 4. Celtics Warriors over under 214 points. I'm going to go with the under for that. Under. I think it'll be a low game for each team. I don't know why. I just get that feeling. Money line. Obviously, the Warriors are underdogs, so I got to take them at the +145. The Celtics are 14-7 against the spread in playoff games. The Warriors are 10-9 against the spread. If you're taking a look at that, you're like, not looking too good for the Warriors. Not looking too good. But there is hope. The Warriors, their offense is very, very dynamic. Their ball movement is some of the best ball movement I've ever seen from a team. So I expect them to play better. Okay, so Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, they'll do what they do. But the other players on the team also need to step up. Jordan Poole needs to step up, right? You have a pool party. Don't be a party pooper. Get the ball to the players. Make your shots. Andrew Wiggins, you were number 1 overall pick. I expect you to do better than 12, 13 points in the game. Get 18, 19, and then we could have some fun. Or maybe just rebound the ball. I don't care if you have 12, 13 points. We should at least have like 6, 7 rebounds, maybe 5 assists. Do your job. I expect, I expect a lot from these Warriors because you know what? That's their team. They are a very, very dynamic team, and they've been here. They have the experience. This is most of the Celtics players' first NBA Finals ever. I mean, it took Al Horford 141 games to get the playoff games to get to the finals. It was the most by any player without a finals appearance. 141 playoff games. And then they finally did it, which I'm happy for Al Horford. I remember playing against him, I guess, because I never was on the Hawks. Playing against him in 2K. Good for Al Horford. But the Warriors role players and the rest of their starters and their bench players, they all need to step up if they win. Because Derek White has seemed to find some sort of, crazy ability to make shots. I don't know where this came from. Early in the playoffs, he wasn't as good. And then later on in the Heat series, a little bit in the Bucks series, but a lot in the Heat series, he was able to make all these big-time shots. So he's going to get going. You got Peyton Pritchard who can make a 3 or 2. Who knows how well he'll do. Grant Williams, he can knock down shots. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, they can knock down shots. Marcus Smart, I wouldn't say he could always knock down shots, but I guarantee you he will knock down some crucial shots. Robert Williams, one of the best shot blockers in the NBA. Be careful interior. Al Horford, he's 36 years old, and he still is elusive, a great defender, and he can knock down a 3 when you need him to. You saw that in Game 1. Nailing threes, nailing shots, getting the ball open to open players. Getting the ball to open players. I don't expect the Celtics to play as well as they do, because the Celtics have up and down games. Like Jason Tatum, you might see low 20s in this game. Jaylen Brown, also low 20s. But that's what you'll need for the Warriors to win. I mean, Curry's probably going to put up I said Curry may put up like 17 points because he was throwing up threes early in the game. I was like, you're missing these shots that you don't usually miss. And then he comes out and puts up 31 points. And like, that's the Curry I know. He says he's still in his prime. I'm not going to say he's still in his prime because I just don't think he is. I mean, I see some of the shots that he was making, 2015 to 2018, 2019. The defender would be literally up in his face. He would shoot the ball and drain it. I mean, there was a shot in, was it the 15 finals? 2015-16 finals? Or would it be 2014-15 finals? Where Kyrie was literally all up in him. Pause. Curry dribbling, takes the shot where Kyrie Irving's literally just right in his face, drains it. Like, you do not see that Curry, that version of Steph Curry, really at all anymore. I'll take the Warriors to win this game. Obviously, they'll cover the 4 points because that's how point spread works. The under of 214, I don't think they'll cover the 214 at all. I'm going with I guess in this day and age it'd be a low score, but not in the history of the NBA. I'm going with a score of 102 to 96. I think it's a 6-point win. I think the Warriors get it done. I understand, 4 out of 5 games. You know what? I'll do it. I'll say 102-92 or 90. Why not? Let's go 90. Let's go a little bit more risky, because 4 out of 5 of their wins have been 10 by 10 or more points. I'm willing to take that risk and say that the Warriors win 102-90. See how they do. I expect Curry to play the same as he always has been doing in these NBA Finals, averaging over 30 points a game, shooting the ball relatively well. Klay Thompson, he found a rhythm, hoping he could keep up with that. But for this Harvey Hour, I appreciate everyone who tuned into the show. This is the first live stream of many coming, especially in this summer vacation. My name has been Nathan Harvey. This has been the Harvey Hour. Thank you all for tuning in. Hope to catch you guys Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 to 6. We'll be back with another show of the Harvey Hour. Stay tuned for the next one.